Have you ever wondered what happened to Jesus' 12 apostles after the crucifixion? Today, we're going to explore the fascinating and tragic stories of these men who followed Jesus to the end. In this video, we'll reveal the fate of each apostle, showing how their lives ended in sacrifice and martyrdom for their faith. Get ready for an emotional and enlightening journey, highlighting the courage and devotion of the apostles. We'll discover how these ordinary men became the pillars of Christianity and paid a high price for their beliefs. Stay with us until the end to learn about the incredible resilience and lasting legacy of Jesus' apostles. Peter, originally known as Simon, was a fisherman in Galilee, leading a simple and ordinary life before being called by Jesus. Jesus gave him the name Peter, which means rock, symbolizing the solid foundation upon which the church would be built. Peter was one of Jesus' closest disciples, witnessing many of Christ's miracles and teachings. He is remembered both for his bravery and his human weaknesses, such as when he denied Jesus 3 times during the crucifixion. However, after Jesus' resurrection, Peter redeemed himself and emerged as a central figure in the early church, leading the spread of Christianity. His role in spreading the gospel was crucial, and he played a vital part in many of the early church's councils and decisions. Peter traveled extensively, preaching and converting new followers, and is credited with founding the church in Rome. During the persecution of Christians by Emperor Nero, around 64 AD, Peter was arrested and sentenced to crucifixion. Feeling unworthy to die in the same manner as Jesus, he asked to be crucified upside down. His death was a final testament to his deep humility and devotion, and he's remembered as a martyr who helped lay the foundations of Christianity. Andrew, Peter's brother, and also a fisherman, was one of Jesus' first disciples. Before following Jesus, Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist. But upon hearing John declare Jesus as the Lamb of God, Andrew immediately followed Jesus, and in his first act as a disciple, brought his brother Peter to meet the Messiah. Known for his ability to connect people to Jesus, Andrew played a crucial role in spreading the gospel to various regions. Andrew traveled extensively to preach the Christian message, bringing the gospel to places such as Greece, Asia Minor, and Russia, according to some traditions. His missionary dedication was remarkable, and he is often remembered for his passion and courage in sharing the faith. In the city of Patras, Greece, Andrew was sentenced to crucifixion for his missionary activities. Choosing an X-shaped cross, later known as St. Andrew's Cross, he was tied, not nailed, to prolong his suffering. Even while bound to the cross, Andrew continued to preach for 2 full days, converting many who witnessed his execution. He used his final moments to strengthen the faith of new believers, demonstrating incredible resilience and commitment to his mission until his last breath. Andrew's death was a powerful testament to his unwavering devotion and courage, and he is venerated as an exemplary martyr in Christian history. James the Greater, brother of John and one of the sons of thunder, received this nickname from Jesus because of his fervent and impetuous temperament. James was part of Jesus' inner circle, along with Peter and John, and witnessed significant events such as the Transfiguration and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. His life was marked by a special closeness to Jesus, and he played a significant role in the leadership of the apostles. James was known for his courage and zeal, always ready to defend and proclaim Jesus' message. His missionary fervor led him to preach the gospel with great passion, quickly becoming a central figure in the early Christian community. James's influence extended not only to the Jews, but also to other peoples, as he tirelessly worked to spread the Christian faith. However, his dedication did not go unnoticed by Christianity's enemies. Around 44 AD, James was arrested by order of Herod Agrippa III, who sought to please Jewish leaders by suppressing the growing Christian influence. James was brought to trial and condemned to death. He was beheaded in Jerusalem, becoming the first apostle to suffer martyrdom. James's death was a significant turning point for early Christians. Until then, many followers of Jesus were not fully aware of the potential cost of following their faith. James's martyrdom highlighted the dangers and sacrifices associated with preaching the gospel, but it also strengthened the Christians' determination, who saw in James' sacrifice proof of the truth and power of their faith. His legacy of courage and devotion continues to inspire millions of Christians worldwide. John, the beloved disciple, was one of Jesus' closest apostles, present at many crucial moments of his life and ministry. Along with Peter and James, John was part of Jesus' inner circle, witnessing events such as the Transfiguration, the resurrection of Jairus' daughter, and the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was also by Jesus' side during the crucifixion, receiving the responsibility to care for Mary, Jesus' mother. John left a significant legacy through his writings, which include the Gospel of John, 3 epistles, 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John, and the Book of Revelation. His Gospel is known for its theological depth, highlighting the love and divinity of Jesus. John's epistles reinforce the themes of love, truth, and fellowship among believers, offering guidance and encouragement to the early Christian communities. In his later years, during an intense persecution of Christians by the Roman Empire, John was exiled to the island of Patmos. It was there that he received the visions that make up the Book of Revelation, a text filled with symbolism and prophecy. This book offers hope and instruction to the persecuted churches, assuring them of Christ's ultimate victory over evil and the promise of a new heaven and a new earth. Unlike the other apostles, John died of natural causes around AD 100 in Ephesus. He was the only apostle who did not suffer martyrdom, living to an old age. His longevity allowed him to influence several generations of Christians and solidify Christian doctrine during the early years of the Church. John's legacy is a lasting testimony of love, faith, and hope, which continues to inspire and guide believers today. Philip from Bethsaida, the same city as Peter and Andrew, was one of the first disciples called by Jesus. From the beginning, Philip demonstrated spiritual curiosity and a willingness to share his faith. He was the one who found Nathanael and brought him to Jesus, saying, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Throughout his ministry, Philip played a significant role in the spread of Christianity. He was a fervent evangelist, traveling to various regions to preach the gospel. Among his achievements is the evangelization in Samaria and the encounter with the Ethiopian eunuch, to whom he explained the scriptures and baptized, contributing to the spread of the Christian faith in Africa. Philip's determination to share Christ's message led him to travel even further, reaching Phrygia, a region in present-day Turkey. There, he continued his mission of converting people to Christianity. In one of his sermons, Philip managed to convert the wife of the Roman proconsul, an act that provoked the anger of the local authorities. As a result, he was arrested and sentenced to death. Philip was crucified in Phrygia, and even in his final moments, his faith remained unwavering. While nailed to the cross, he continued to preach and convert many of those present, demonstrating incredible courage and dedication to his calling. His life and death are powerful testimonies of his unbreakable commitment to the gospel and his willingness to sacrifice everything for his faith. Philip's story inspires Christians around the world to follow his example of fervent evangelization and steadfast commitment to Jesus' message. Bartholomew, also known as Nathaniel, is remembered as an exemplary apostle of sincerity and devotion. When Philip introduced him to Jesus, Jesus described him as a true Israelite, in whom there is no deceit. This statement highlights Bartholomew's honesty and integrity, traits that defined his life and ministry. After Jesus' resurrection and Pentecost, Bartholomew fervently dedicated himself to the mission of spreading the gospel to various regions of the known world. He preached in places like India, where it is believed he left a copy of the Gospel of Matthew, as well as other areas of Mesopotamia, Persia, Egypt, and Armenia. His tireless dedication to spreading the Christian message demonstrated his deep commitment to the faith. Bartholomew faced immense hostility during his missionary travels, especially in regions where traditional religious beliefs were deeply rooted. In Armenia, his missionary work met with fierce resistance. Disturbed by the impact of his preaching and conversions, the local leaders decided to eliminate him. Bartholomew was subjected to a brutal martyrdom. He was flayed alive and then beheaded. This horrific form of execution was intended to serve as a warning to other missionaries and followers of Christianity. Bartholomew's death highlighted the brutality that early Christian missionaries often faced. However, his martyrdom also underscored the depth of his faith and his unwavering courage. By enduring such torture without renouncing his faith, Bartholomew left a powerful legacy of sacrifice and dedication. His life and death continue to inspire Christians worldwide, reminding them of the hostility that the early followers of Christ faced and the price many paid to spread the gospel message. Thomas, known for his initial doubt, is often remembered as Doubting Thomas. After Jesus' resurrection, Thomas declared that he would not believe until he saw and touched the nail marks in Jesus' hands. When Jesus appeared and offered him this opportunity, Thomas exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." This transformation from skeptic to fervent believer marked the beginning of a life of intense mission. Following this episode, Thomas became a fervent missionary, determined to spread Christianity. He traveled to various regions, with his work in India being particularly notable. There, he established several Christian communities, and his influence is still felt today in churches that trace their roots back to him. In India, Thomas faced many adversities, but his unwavering faith inspired many to convert to Christianity. He was eventually martyred by being pierced with spears while evangelizing, thus becoming a martyr. His transformation from skeptic to devoted apostle and martyr serves as a powerful testament to faith and conviction. Matthew, before following Jesus, was a tax collector, a profession despised by Jews for its association with corruption and collaboration with the Romans. When Jesus called him, Matthew immediately left his lucrative profession to follow him, demonstrating faith and a willingness to radically change his life. Matthew is the author of the Gospel of Matthew, one of the 4 canonical Gospels, which emphasizes Jesus as the promised Messiah of the Old Testament and is primarily directed at Jews. After Jesus' resurrection, Matthew preached in various regions, including Persia and Ethiopia. There are conflicting accounts of his death, but most traditions claim he was martyred by a sword in Ethiopia. His preaching and writing had a lasting impact on the church, and his gospel continues to be one of the primary sources of Christian teaching. James the Less, also known as James, son of Alphaeus, was a prominent leader in the early church in Jerusalem. He wrote the Epistle of James, which emphasizes the importance of works as evidence of true faith. This epistle is one of the most practical and straightforward writings in the New Testament, addressing issues of ethical behavior and Christian living. James the Less was known for his piety and righteousness, often called James the Just. He played a crucial role in leading the church in Jerusalem, especially during the Council of Jerusalem. He was stoned and then beaten to death by order of the high priest Ananias in an attempt to suppress his influence in the growing Christian community. His leadership and his letter continue to be influential in Christian theology, highlighting the intrinsic relationship between faith and actions. Jude Thaddeus, also known as Lebbaeus or Thaddeus, is the author of the Epistle of Jude, a brief but powerful book in the New Testament that warns against false teachings and encourages Christians to remain steadfast in their faith. He was known for his missionary zeal, traveling extensively to preach the gospel. Jude Thaddeus was martyred in Persia along with Simon the Zealot. They were killed with swords after converting many people to Christianity. His life is an example of dedication to the gospel and a willingness to face danger, demonstrating profound faith and courage in the face of persecution. Simon the Zealot, formerly part of a Jewish revolutionary movement that sought to expel the Romans by force, transformed his nationalist fervor into deep spiritual commitment upon encountering Jesus. Simon dedicated himself to preaching Jesus' message of peace and salvation. Simon traveled to various regions to preach, including North Africa and Persia. Along with Jude Thaddeus, he was martyred in Persia. His transformation from a political zealot to a spiritual zealot is a powerful testimony of redemption and change, showing how an encounter with Jesus can radically transform lives. Judas Iscariot, the betrayer of Jesus, is an infamous figure in Christian history. He was the treasurer of the apostles and, unfortunately, allowed his greed to lead him to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. His betrayal culminated in Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. After betraying Jesus, Judas was consumed by guilt and remorse. Unable to cope with the enormity of his betrayal, he attempted to return the 30 pieces of silver to the religious leaders and then hanged himself. Judas' story serves as a grim warning about the consequences of greed and betrayal, as well as the depths of repentance and guilt. By exploring the tragic end of the 12 apostles, we are reminded of the profound commitment and sacrifice of these men. Their lives and deaths continue to inspire millions around the world, demonstrating that faith can overcome even the greatest challenges. Reflecting on their stories encourages us to persevere in our own spiritual journeys, reminding us of the transformative power of faith. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and leave a like. Share your reflections on the apostles' sacrifices and how their stories have impacted you in the comments. Stay tuned for the next video that's appearing on the screen. See you next time.